Hey, welcome to Code Experiments for today. Earlier today, we needed to remove the break lines from each to-do item. And for that, we tried two different ways. We first tried the list comprehension, which looked something like this. So we reassigned the new cleaned list to a new variable. But then we found out that since we have this for loop, then we could simply apply the strip method here instead of iterating over the list in a list comprehension. So then what I did is I removed this line from the code. But a better way would be to just comment this line. The way you comment a line is by using the hash symbol. So you just add that symbol in front of the line you want to comment. So what is commenting anyway? Well, commenting means this line will not be executed by the interpreter now. So it is in the code, it's just for us programmers to see it, but the interpreter will not use it. Now, we get this underline here because it is recommended to have a space between the symbol and the commented line. It is not a requirement, it is a recommendation. So another illustration, if we had this print function here on top, hi, and we run the code, of course we would see hi. But if I add the hash symbol in front of print and I rerun the code, now hi will not be printed out. So comments are useful to have when you have some code that maybe you want to execute in the future, maybe you are not sure if you really want to delete it, so just keep it for reference there. So the comment feature would be useful for that. So that's one use of the comment, to just comment code out so it is not executed. The other usefulness is to describe your code. For example, let's say that when you come later on in your code and you don't remember what you're doing in these two lines. So it's a good idea to actually, when you're programming, it's a good idea to actually write a comment here that describes these two lines. For example, get user input and remove and strip space characters from it. So by looking at this, it gives you some information about what these two lines are doing. Similarly, you could add a comment above this line. So you press enter here to create a break line, the hash symbol, and then you say check if user action is add. So that comment tells you that this case add is checking for the user action. However, you shouldn't abuse comments. So I do think that in this case, this comment is unnecessary because as a programmer, you know that case add checks this string against that variable. So it doesn't really give any much extra information to just say what case add does. So you only want to use comments when you really think it's necessary that a code line should have more extra information to tell to the programmer. And that is also why variable naming is important. So you should use meaningful names for variables so that you don't have to use comments. For example, by saying here to-dos, you know that this is a list of to-do items. But if you just said data, then it would be a bit ambiguous what this would actually mean. So be specific and descriptive with variable names. So use comments whenever you think some code does really need some description, and that's what you normally do. So write the line above a block of code. For example, here would be another example. Write to-dos in the file. But again, this wouldn't be necessary because we know what the open function does. But if you wanted to comment that block, you just write the comment on top of it. So that's about code experiments for today. We were focused on comments, and let's keep going.